So, the Audi Porsche Macan. It's a pretty thing, isn't it? It was Porsche's first compact SUV all the way back in 2014, and it received high praise for its looks and its handling. In fact, it's one of the very few SUVs to get a 5-star rating from Auto Express magazine. High praise indeed then. However, whilst it's certainly a compact SUV in size, it's certainly not compact in terms of weight. At nearly 2 tons, this thing is a bit of a porker. Let's see if this Macan has some Porsche magic going on, or if it's just a hyped up badge. My name's Tom, and you're watching Paragon Cars. Let's go. We're on Instagram, so if you want to see behind the scenes footage, weekly updates, and some of the stuff we've got for sale, click the link in the description below. So at the start, you'll obviously have noticed I mentioned the Audi Q5, and that's for good reason, as the Macan does indeed use the same chassis. In my eyes, that doesn't bode well for handling, but Porsche have made significant changes to the chassis of this thing. Suspension's changed, the all-wheel drive system is more rear biased, and although the engines are similar, the gearboxes are worlds apart, as this Macan uses the famous PDK. Back to engines though, as this Macan S uses the 3-litre turbo diesel. It makes 258 horsepower and a very healthy 580 Nm of torque. Combine that with the fact you have a PDK box, and that means even though this thing weighs nearly 2 tons, you can haul this thing from 0 to 60 in 6 seconds flat. What about once you're moving though? Let's see what she can manage on the 30 to 70 sprint. Well, we did 5.73 seconds, and for daily driving that is more than enough pace. That compares to smaller hot hatches like the Abarth 595, and isn't actually that far off proper hot hatches like the Ford Focus RS. What doesn't compare to those cars though is the interior, as it's more than just a class above. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not the most modern nor the most eye-catching thing, but what it lacks in visual stimulus, it more than makes up for it in outright quality. This has to be one of the most solid cars I've ever sat in. It feels like every nut and every bolt is almost welded to the chassis. Unfortunately, there is one pretty major issue with this interior, and it's one I really didn't expect to find, especially when you consider this is based on the Audi Q5. And that issue is the space in the back. With the driver's seat in my position, I can't actually get comfortable at all in the rear, which is a shame as it's otherwise a great interior. But I can see this being a genuine deal breaker for people with families. Moving to the boot, there's a good amount of room, tight end points and a 12-volt socket. However, again, there's an issue. Due to the lack of room in the back, when you try to fold the seats down, they get stuck, which means you have to put the front seats all the way forward electronically, which is obviously very slow. It may sound like a small thing, but when you're in a rush, it becomes genuinely annoying. Anyway, enough ranting, let's get on the road and see if Porsche have really breathed their magic into this thing. So, first Porsche review, and this is something else. Whoever tells you this is a rebadged Audi Q5 don't know shit. This is so vastly different. Immediately, driving position, perfection, just perfect. Steering, has feel, has weight. PDK gearbox? Insane. I mean, this is by far not even close to any other gearbox I've driven. It's just, the shifts are imperceivable even at low speeds, which I don't think I've ever encountered in a dual clutch or multi-clutch system. I mean, I thought the ZF8 speed was the best gearbox I've used. I mean, that's the best torque converter, but I mean, just look, coming out of here, it goes off in second gear. It's ridiculously good, and I can't believe how good it is. Like, 30 seconds in this car. I've had 30 seconds in this thing. And I want one already. It really is that good. Oh, suspension. There's got to be something wrong with this. There's got to be. I mean, going over speed bumps, almost imperceivable, even though it controls its weight well. How they do that, it must be magic. I don't know how it can be that good. Oh, actually, in terms of parking, I've just noticed the view out the rear view mirror is not that good. And let me find another space actually, 'cause it's a bit busy. I want to demonstrate just how hard this is to park, because there's no reverse camera in this one, and obviously you don't get anything as standard with Porsche. Parking sensors are accurate, but wing mirrors are kind of small, and the view out the back is actually abysmal. That must mean it's terrible, right? No, of course it's not. Steering lock, not bad actually, not amazing, but it could certainly be better. And you notice at lower speeds the steering is quite heavy, certainly a lot heavier than the equivalent Audi Q5. But yeah, this is also a wide car, which means I'm actually over the line. Oh my god, I thought I was well within the space then. It shows how good I am at parking. Hang on. Oh my god, yeah, this car is really wide. I don't know if you can see on camera, but I'm basically touching the line on that side, and I'm also touching it on this side as well. And you can even see the parking sensors are telling me I'm literally right next to that Audi S3. Yeah, gosh, this is a really wide car actually. I hadn't really thought about that, but it's so nice to drive. Oh god, it's good. Just immediately, as soon as you move off, there's just feel, there's weight. I mean, the word sublime comes to mind. Just so unbelievably smooth. Like coming out of a junction, even with start stop on, which I hate, you just give it half throttle and the car's just there, ready to go. And you get loads of torque from this diesel, obviously. All 580 Newton meters come in pretty much instantly. One negative I am noticing already though, apart from the visibility, is they seem to have used the world's squeakiest rubber for the brake pedal. Like, listen to that. Very squeaky. Oh, it's got hill hold assist, I didn't realise. There's a lot of buttons in this thing. Is that an option I can turn off, or I'm probably being blind? Someone in the comments will point it out immediately, I'm sure. Oh, it's so perfect. I mean, the thing for me is the gearbox so far, because you notice in the Audi Q5, if you get this engine, you get a slush box, and whilst that's like pretty good for daily driving, you know, I thought it would actually be better than the equivalent PDK, but this is just ridiculous. I've never driven a dual clutch where the shifts are literally imperceivable. You know, in things like Golf R's, you can feel a little bit of, you know, something going on. This is just nothing. There's no feeling of the car shifting. Like, it just went from 4th to 5th then. I didn't even, just nothing. I don't know how to describe it other than saying that. Anyway, let's not get carried away. Let's reset our trip computer and see what kind of MPG we can get on the motorway. So this is supposed to do about 44, should we say, if you're driving it, you know, realistically, you know, putting your foot down on the odd occasion, having a bit of fun with it, as you would with a Porsche. And that's not bad actually. It says on the extra urban cycle you can get upwards of 50, but you know, you're gonna have to be driving at 60 miles an hour, which is just pointless. You know, you got places to be. You're in a Porsche. So yeah, hopefully we can get 44 miles per gallon on the combined cycle. Before we do that, we're going to take it onto a roundabout and just see how good this thing handles, because it does weigh nearly 2 tons. Okay then, into sports mode, one of many buttons in this thing. Transmission into, is there an S in this? Or is it just manual? I think it's just manual. Oh my god, look at those shifts, ridiculous. Right, we're not going to turn the traction off yet, because I'm just going to get familiar with the chassis of this thing first. But, oh my goodness. Just look. Wow, feel the rear pushing you there. Performance is not bad, really. 70 already. Just the shifts are the things, I can't even talk, the shifts are the thing that just blow my mind again. Just look at the downshifts, it's just instant. Just like up, okay, upshifts are a bit slower to be fair. But the downshifts, just like bang, 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 bang. Just ridiculous. What? Oh god. This thing is crazy. Also, it seems to just read your mind. Like, I was approaching the previous roundabout to that one just now, and it shifted up into 6, but it was like idling as I was slowing down. I don't know if it uses the sat nav to like predict where you're going or something, but it seems to just know what you're gonna do. It's really odd. Oh gosh, wow, the throttle response is very responsive in sports mode. Anyway, back into normal. Let's see what kind of economy we can manage on the motorway. Okay, so coming onto the motorway, we've covered it's very smooth, obviously. It's got quite a long throttle, actually, compared to most cars. You have to get about halfway into the throttle before it starts downshifting, which I actually really like. It gives you just a bit more control. Look, this is the thing I mean. It predicts what you're doing. It's really weird. Like, it just knows that I'm not going to put my foot down. Or am I? Even then, it's just bang, bang. Crazy. But yeah, once you're up to speed, you can use the very strange cruise control system. So most manufacturers, you pull it towards you to set it. For me, that's kind of intuitive. In a Porsche, you push it away from you, which is kind of odd. Cabin noise is very low. Suspension deals with bumps really well. Even these lines in the road, don't feel any of that coming into the cabin whatsoever. Visibility is the only real downside though, and I have to say it is genuinely quite poor. Like, it's sports car bad in terms of visibility. But it's quiet, it's comfortable, there's no wind noise. Visibility out the front is okay actually, because you've got this little window here and the A-pillar is pretty thin. You can see around it as well. But yeah, for a long journey, this is a really nice car to spend a lot of time in. I hate the saying, but it's a nice place to be. And it really is. It doesn't look super modern, but it's just so solid. It reminds me actually of like really old Mercedes' cars, like the old S-Class. Just, you know, when they used to over-engineer every single thing in the car. This is what this Porsche feels like. Not a single creak, not a single rattle, even when you go over big bumps. Just, it really is good. And do you know what? I was expecting this Porsche Macan to be, you know, kind of like Porsche's version of an SUV. So it would be an Audi Q5 with a Porsche badge on it. But no, I'm very wrong. I'll happily admit that. This is Porsche through and through. They really have gone to town on this thing. And it shows. I mean, the second you get in this car, it feels totally different to an Audi. It's just amazing how it's still on the MLB platform, but feels so different. Anyway, enough waffle. Let's get on the motorway and see what MPG we can manage. Okay, how did we do? Well, we managed pretty much bang on what Porsche says. We did 43 miles per gallon, and it's still going up actually. So over a longer journey, you might even get around 45, 46 mpg out of this thing. And that was sitting at 70 miles an hour pretty much the entire time. I have to say, that is pretty decent for a car that weighs upwards of 2 tons. I'll be happy with that, even though it's a diesel. That's fairly impressive. Anyway, let's see if this Porsche Macan S is just as impressive on a bigger road. Okay, everything is in its sportiest setting. Gearbox is in manual. Does still upshift for you though, if you hit the red line, which is a shame actually. I thought Porsches would give you full control. Let's see what this Porsche Macan S is like. Steering is just awesome for an SUV. Even for a regular car it's good. Chassis balance, it's pretty good. You can get the chassis to move around. And then welcome to Porsche Airlines. It is quick. It's weird, I mean the 30 to 70 time was not like super fast, it was like small hot hatch quick. But because of the PDK gearbox, it just feels so much quicker. Just look at those downshifts. Brakes, absolutely mega of course. They just give you so much confidence. Just every single thing feels so perfectly calibrated. Suspension deals with the bumps well. You get nice turbo noises from the engine. Just look at the levels of grip. You do feel the weight a bit though, I have to say. But the way it manages it is just on another level. I mean, the main takeaway for me so far is just that gearbox. It's so ridiculously good. Brakes are good as well actually. Look at that. Thing is, it sounds like it's understeering, it's really not, it's just fast. Okay, then it was holding onto a gear, that's weird. Last time it upshifted itself. Strange. So it's not prone to oversteer, it's not prone to understeer. It just feels really satisfying to be behind the wheel of. Just so smooth, so progressive. It's a rewarding driving experience without being leery, which is not something you really get with most cars. Like the steering just wants to sit there. Oh god, it's good. Just right there, it feels so tied down. It's just planted beyond belief. And the torque from this engine is really nice. The way they've calibrated it to come in is good. One thing I noticed before though, you have to turn stability control off in this, otherwise it's really intrusive. Let me actually show you. If I turn it back on and leave it on, it basically slows you down. And it does this weird thing at the back as well. You guys might have watched a 5th gear episode with the Porsche Macan in it, where it kind of skips and jumps around corners. And it does it here as well. It just slams on the brakes. Like the second it detects slip, it's just like, whoa. And it really unsettles the car. I think when they were testing this, obviously they do a lot of laps around the Nürburgring, they're never going to have that on. So that's kind of a setting for people that don't know how to drive. And with it off, it just has this lovely, smooth balance to it. If it was lighter, I mean, it would be probably one of the best SUVs on the market. You can't really get that with an SUV though. About 2 tons for this thing it's a heavy thing. And it does well at masking the weight, but the weight is still there. That's the issue, really. But just look at that. Whoa. A little bit of roll, not too much roll. Where you feel the weight really is in the tyres. I think if you went for maybe some Michelins instead of Pirellis, you might do a bit better. But you just feel the sidewall like basically giving up. It's just kind of like screaming for help. But it's good that it leans on its side rather than on the front or the back. It does a fantastic job of just managing its weight. And the response from the engine is crazy. You didn't really get that from the Audi Q7. Even though it's a similar engine, this just seems to have a lot more like sharpness to it. I think maybe it's because of the gearbox. It just feels so directly connected to the wheels. Just those shifts are just ridiculous. I can't get over how fast this gearbox is. But look at the responsiveness. Just it's almost like there's no turbo lag. It's weird. Anyway, let's take this thing to a smaller B road and see if it shrinks in size or not. Okay, down some tighter stuff. You know, it's the first 2 gears in this car are unbelievably short, and that's to give you that 0 to 60 time. But it's worth it. And it makes the car feel so sporty. Already, I can place this thing within the millimetre on the road. The suspension just deals with everything. Oh, I've finished. I cannot believe how composed it was over that bump. Usually cars do a bit of a hop, skip and a jump over there. This was totally unfazed. Just watch how quick first gear goes by. Like 22 miles an hour it shifts. Can we hit 60? Yes we can. That's why first and second gear are very short. Just look at the control of the body through there. Not having to like guess where the car is on the road. Wow. That is crazy levels of body control. Steering again, fantastic. You can just place this thing exactly where you want it. Fantastic stuff. If you want a sporty SUV, this is a hard car to beat. It's going to be interesting to see what that petrol one is like later. Anyway, time for a conclusion, I think. I have to admit, going into this review, I really didn't expect much. Usually badges are the things that really sell the product, but Porsche really have made some serious changes with this Macan, and it shows from the very second you get into the car. As always, I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, give it a like, and why not subscribe? As not only can you see more content like this, you can see everything we have for sale. My name's Tom, and you've been watching Paragon Cars. I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.